Okay, first off, I want to give all praises to Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. That's the name of the Heavenly Father, and the name of the Messiah, the Son, and the man, who people ignorantly call Jesus Christ, right? So we're going to go over some things in Genesis today. Um, Actually, we're going to start at Genesis chapter 37, verse 1, and we're going to do reading today. We're going to read about Joseph and how we got into Egypt in our first slavery, right? So, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Can you hear me, sis?
Can you? Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, sis. We finna start reading. We finna start at Genesis chapter 37, verse 1. That's what we finna start at today. Is it a way that you can make the Bible bigger on the screen? Baby, can you see the screen? Come off of mute.
Yeah.
Can you make your screen sharing bigger?
Yes.
Like you had it before?
It ain't bigger.
Nah, it ain't not on. Hold on. Okay, there we go. My bad. It was my screen. Okay, I'm ready. You can go back to the Bible.
What chapter?
Genesis chapter 37 and 1. Baba Shah, thank you. And we finna read about Joseph, one of Jacob's 12 sons, one of Israel's 12 sons, right? We finna read about him, and then how we end up going into Egypt, right? How we got into our first slavery. Now, the man Jacob name was changed to Israel in Genesis chapter 35. And we Israelites. So the ITE at the end of a word, the ITE means descended of. So we're Israelites, that means we're descendants of the man Israel, right? Now, at Genesis chapter 30, try to get this out the way. Genesis 37 and 1. Genesis 37 and 1. And at this point, Jacob is having his kids, right? And all his sons, the 12 patriarchs of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. And it reads, Genesis 37 and 1. It says, Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his fathers were a stranger, in the land of Canaan. And these are the generations of Jacob. So these his kids. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding a flock with his brethren. And the lad was with the sons of Bilhah, with the sons of Zilpah, and his father's wives. And Joseph brought into his father their evil report. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors, right? And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all of his brethren, they hated him and could not speak peaceably to him. Now you got the other 11 brothers, they don't like Joseph, right? Because Israel, right? Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel, he liked Joseph more than his other sons, and he made him a colorful, like a sweater or a jacket, right? Like Biggie Smalls Coogee sweater. He made it a bunch of colors, right? So 1 second. So he made them a thing of colors, right? And his brothers didn't like him. They couldn't speak peaceably with him. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told his brethren, and they hated him yet more. Now, Joseph done had a dream, right? Most High done gave him a dream. And in his dream, he's going to tell you what the dream was about. But the Most High gave him a dream. And now his brothers that don't already like him, they finna start hating him more because of this dream, right? So verse four, five. Okay, verse 6. And he said unto them, Here I pray you this dream which I have dreamed. Verse 7. Can you scroll the screen up? Baby, you gotta try to keep up with the reading. I know you doing a lot of stuff. Can you just try to keep the screen? Because when I get to like 12, then scroll up, right? So verse 7, it says, For behold, we are it says, For behold, we are binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose and also stood upright, and behold, your sheaf stood around about and made oblations to my sheaf. And his brethren said unto him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us, right? Or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet more for his dream and his word. Now, in his dream, he's seen all of his brothers bowing down to him. Now, keep in mind, his dad already liked him more than the other brothers. And now in his dream, he's telling his brothers, oh yeah, y'all gonna be bowing down to me. Verse 9. And he dreamed yet another dream and told it to his brethren and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made oblations to me. And the 11 stars of the other brothers, right? Because it's 12 of them. And he told it to his father and to his brethren. And his father rebuked him and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come bow ourselves to thee unto the earth? So now, Jacob, which is Israel, he rebuking them, right? He like you talking about all us gonna bow to you, like how you what me and your mama gonna bow to you, right? Bow down towards the earth, right? And his brother envied him, but his father observed the same, right? So his brother envied him, but his dad, he was thinking on it. And his brother went feeding their flock and Shechem. And Israel said unto Joseph, Do not thy brethren feed the flock in Shechem? Come, and I will send thee unto them. And he said to him, Here I am. So they invited him somewhere, right? So he going with them to Shechem. And he said, All right, I'm coming. Here I am. Verse 14, and he said unto him, Go, I pray thee, see whether it be well with thee. And he said unto him, Go, I pray thee, see whether it be well with thy brethren and well with the flocks, and bring me word again. So he sent him out of the vale of Herabon, and he came to Shechem. And a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field. And the man asked him, saying, What's thou seekest? Right? So now he in the field looking for the flock and stuff that's supposed that his brother them inviting him to. He looking for the flock in the field, but it's a setup, right? Verse 15 again, and a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field, and the man asked him, saying, What is thou seekest? Verse 16, and he said, I seekest my brethren, tell me, I pray thee, where they feed their flocks. And the man said, They are departed hence, for I heard them saying, Let us go to Dothan. And Joseph went after his brethren and found them in Dothan. And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him. So now they meeting up with their brother in a different city. They ain't around their daddy. Now their brother coming up to him, Now they conspiring, they thinking of a conspiracy, a plan to try to slay him, kill him. Now this is the 11 brothers thinking about killing one of the other 12, the 12th brother, right? Boom, boom, boom. To slay him, verse 19. And they said one to another, behold, this dreamer cometh. So they mocking him, like, here come the dreamer. Come now, therefore, and let us slay him and cast him into some pit. And we will say, come, some evil beast had devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dream. So they saying, hey, if we kill him and blame it on like a mountain tiger or something, right? A wild beast, and say a wild beast killed them, right? We're going to see if we're going to bow down to him like his dream said. That's what they saying to themselves. They said, verse 21. And Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands and said, let us not kill him. Now, this the brother Reuben, right? Now, brother Reuben, this one of the 11 brothers, he like, man, we don't need to kill him, right? And Reuben said unto them, shed no blood, but cast him into the pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hands upon him, that he might rid out of their hands. Hold on. I'm going to start at verse 22 again. And Reuben said unto them, shed no blood, but cast him into a pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hands upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands and deliver him to the Father again. Shabbat Shalom, Auntie. Just let me know when Bible come back up.
Shalom.
Shalom, Auntie. Shabbat Shalom. No, I don't see the Bible back on the screen yet. There we go. We're reading Genesis chapter 37. We're reading about Joseph and his 12 brothers and how we actually end up getting into Egypt, right? We just start reading. We're at verse 20. Genesis 37, verse 20. Actually, 22. And Reuben said unto them, shed no blood. So you got Joseph, right? Joseph, his dad, Jacob, who name was changed to Israel. So Jacob loved Joseph more than the other 11 brothers, right? And he made him the colorful sweater, right? And his brother, he started dreaming them dreams. And in his dreams, his brother and them was bowing down to him. So they hated him even more, right? They hated him because his daddy loved him more. And now they hate him even more because he having dreams about them bowing down, right? So they done called him to a field, right? Then he ended up going to Donathan, or Donathan, this is a city. And now they just meeting up with his 11 other brothers, but they thinking about killing, right? Then verse 21, Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands, and he said, let us not kill him. Verse 22, and Reuben said unto them, shed no blood, but cast him into the pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hands on him, that he might rid him out of their hands and deliver him to his father again. And it came to pass when Joseph was coming to his brethren, that they stripped Joseph of his coat of many colors that was on him. And they took him and cast him into the pit, and the pit was empty, and there was no water in it, right? Because if he can't get out this pit, he could just die of dehydration, right? Or an animal can jump down in the pit and get him. Verse 25. And they sat down to eat bread, right? So once they got him in a pit, stripped him of his colorful jacket, right? Now they sat down to eat the bread, and they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Galilee, and Galilee, and with their camels bearing spiceries and balm and myrrh, and they carrying it down to Egypt. So now they see these Ishmaelite merchants, right? And Judah said to his brethren, what profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he's our brother and our flesh, and our brethren and his brothers were consent. Now they done came up with a plan. We ain't finna kill him. We finna sell him into slavery to the Ishmaelites and say a wild animal killed them, right? And Judah, boom, boom, boom. Verse 28. Then there passed by Midianites, merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver, and they brought Joseph into Egypt, right? So now this is the first Israelite in Egypt, right? And Reuben returned to the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit, and he rented his clothes, right? And he returned to his brethren and said, the child is not, and whither shall I go? Whither shall I go? And they took Joseph's coat and killed a kid of goat and dipped the coat in the blood. So they took his colorful sweater, like the Biggie Small sweater. They killed a goat, right? And then they dipped the sweater in the blood to make it look like he got killed, right? And they took in verse 32, and they sent the coat of many colors, and they brought it to their father and said, this we have found, and now whether it know now whether it be thy son's coat or not. So they brought it to Jacob, right? And they saying, look what we just found. We don't know if it's the one you made, Jacob, or not. And he knew it and said, this is my son's coat. An evil beast have devoured him. Joseph is without a doubt rented into pieces. And Jacob rented his clothes and put a sackcloth upon his loins and mourned for his son many days, right? And all the sons and all the daughters rose up to comfort him, because it was more than 12. He had more than 12 kids. He had daughters, right? And all the sons and all his daughters rose up to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. For he said, for I will go down into the grave, he said, for I will go down to the grave until my son's mourning. He said, I'm going to mourn my son until I die. Thus his father wept for him. And the Midianites sold him into Egypt unto Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh's and a captain of the guard. So he got sold to an Egyptian guard, right? And it came to pass this is going to go into 38, right? 38, chapter 1. And it came to pass that at that time that Judah went down from his brethren and turned into a certain man, a Demalite whose name was Hara. And Judah saw there was a daughter of the certain Canaanite whose name was Shirah, and he took her and went into her. So now Judah got a wife of a Canaanite, right? And she conceived and bare a son, and he called his name And she conceived again and bare a son, and she called his name Onan. And she yet conceived again and bare a son, and she called his name Shelah. Salah. No, thank you, baby. Salah. And he was at Chizib when she bare them. And Judah took a wife of his firstborn, whose name was Tamar. And Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord slew him. And Judah said unto Onan, go into thy brother's wife and marry her, and raise up seed to thy brother, because it's a law if your brother die and he don't have kids, right? You got the other brother got to raise up seed after him, so the bloodline lives on or whatever. and the thing which did, okay, boom, boom, and Onan knew. Yeah, actually, let me just start at verse 8 again. 38 and 8. And Judah said unto Onan, go unto thy brother's wife and marry her and raise up seed unto thy brother. Verse 9, and Onan knew that the seed should not be his. And it came to pass when he went into his brother's wife that he spilled it on the ground, lest he should give the seed to his brother. And the thing which he did displeased the Lord. Therefore he slew him also. And he said unto Judah, then said Judah to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, remain a widow at thy father's house, right? Till to Selah, my son, be grown, because this is, keep in mind, even though, and this actually with this story keep going on, it proves that we had the law way before the wilderness with Moses, because this is a law out of the Torah, right? We finna keep going. Joseph is a woman is finna try to commit adultery with Joseph, and he didn't want to do it, and he dipped, right? But that's a law of God. But how did he even know what adultery? Just like Noah, how did he even know what a clean or unclean animal was if he didn't have a law? But the law was always here, right? So back to verse 11. Then said Judah to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, remain a widow at thy father's house till Salah, my son, be grown. For he said, lest peradventure he die also, and his brethren did. And Tamar went and dwelt at her father's house, because one of these brothers got to raise up seed with this woman. And in the process of time, when the daughter of Shurah, Judah's wife, died, and Judah was comforted and went up into the sheep shears to Timnath, right? Tamayath and his friend Arad, the Adumalite. And it was told to Tamar, saying, behold, thy father-in-law goeth up to Nath to shear his sheep. And she put on her widow garment. Now, keep in mind, this woman is she finna keep the law, but she finna do it like in a slick way or whatever. But she finna try to keep the law, because in her mind, she might not get, one of the brothers don't want to have a baby by her. So she finna find another way to keep the law. I'll make a long story short. And she put on her widow garments off from her, and covered her with a veil, and wrapped herself, and sat in the open place, which is by the way of Timnath. For she saw that Salah was grown, and she was not given unto him as a wife. So the son that she was promised, that Judah promised to give her when he got grown, he didn't give her, right? So she is a grown woman, right? Her husband done died, but she don't want to be, she trying to get a husband to have a baby, right? And Salah was grown, and he had now given her to a wife. Verse 15, and when Judah saw her, he thought her to be a harlot, because she had covered her face. And he had turned into her by the way, and said, go to, I pray thee, let me come unto thee. For he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, what wilt thou give me that thou mayest come unto me? So she acting like a prostitute, but she's not. And he said, I will give thee a kid of the flock, basically a goat. And she said, wilt thou give me a pledge till thou send it? And he said, what pledge shall I give thee? And she said, thy signet, thy bracelets, and thy staff that is in thy hand. And he gave it to her, and came into her, and she conceived by him. And she arose and went away, and laid by the veil from her, and put on her garments of her widowhood. And Judah sent the kid by the hand of his friend, the Adumalite, to receive the pledge from the woman's hands, but he found her not. So he went to go give her the kid a goat, but he ain't find her. He was trying to get his bracelets and staff and stuff back, but he ain't find her. She gone, right? And when he asked the man in that place, saying, where is the harlot that was openly by the side? And they said, there was no harlot in this place. And he returned to Judah and said, I cannot find her. And also the men of the place said that there was no harlot in this place. And Judah said, let her take it to her, lest we be shamed. Behold, I send this kid, and thou hast not found her. And it came to pass about 3 months after that it was told to Judah, saying, Tamar, thy daughter-in-law, has played the harlot, and also, behold, she is with child by whoredom. And Judah said, bring her forth and let her be burnt. So they thinking she committed adultery, but she had to raise up a baby from that bloodline. And when they brought her forth, she said unto her father-in-law, saying, by the man whose these are, I am with child. And she said, discern, I pray thee, whose are these, the signet, the bracelets, and staff. And she handed him his bracelets back, right? And Judah acknowledged them and said, she have been more righteous than I, because I gave her not to Selah, my son, and he knew her again no more. And it came to pass in the time of her travail that, behold, twins were in her womb. And it came to pass when she travailed that one put out his hand, and to the midwives, a midwife is like a nurse, and the midwives took and bound upon his hand a scarlet thread, saying, this came out first, right? So they wrapped his hand came out first, so they put a little piece of thread around it, like this the first thing that came out. And it came to pass that as he drew back his hand, that behold, his brother came out. For she said, how hast thou broken forth? This breach be upon thee. Therefore his name was called Pharez. And afterwards came out his brother, and that had a scarlet thread upon his hand, and his name was called Zariah. And Joseph was brought. Now we'll go back to Joseph, right? And we right back to Joseph. Keep in mind, he is sold unto slavery, and he's in Egypt, and he's a slave to a guard of Pharaoh, like a guard, right? Chapter 39, verse 1. And Joseph was brought down into Egypt, and Potiphar, the officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guards, an Egyptian, brought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which have brought him down from there, right? And the Lord was with Joseph. So the Most High, Yahweh, never left the Most High. That's Lord capital. When you look that up, that's the what you call a tetragrammaton. YHWH. That's the Most High name. YHWH. If you say the letters Yod Hey Wah Hey in Hebrew, well, in original Hebrew, but that's his name, Yahweh, right? So the Lord Yahweh was with Joseph. So the Most High with him, and he was prosperous. He was a prosperous man. Keep in mind, he's in slavery, and the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of the master Egyptian, right? So he's in the Egyptian house that he owns, and the master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord Yahweh made all that he did to prosper in his hands. So now the Egyptian sees that this is a well-favored man, right? And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him, and he made him overseer of his house, all that he had put and all that he put in his hands, into his hands. So he basically making sure he ain't living like a servant, but he is one, right? And it came to pass, right, from the time that he had made him overseer in his house and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of Yahweh was upon all that he had in the house and in the field, right? So now the Egyptian getting blessed just because Joseph, and he treating him right. So now the Egyptian house is blessed. Verse 6, and he left all that he had in Joseph's hands, and he knew not aught he had, save the bread which he did eat, right? And Joseph was a goodly person, and well favored. And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, lie with me. Now, this dude, he's a righteous dude, everything going good, and now his wife started getting a lustful eye towards Joseph, right? She told him, she said, lie with her, right? Verse 8, but he refused. That's committing adultery. How did he even know that was wrong with us committing adultery unless they had the laws before? We call it oral tradition. So we pass down the laws from, mother to kids, or husband to kids, and from generation to generation. It's oral traditions or oral laws. So we was passing down, you ain't supposed to eat pork. That's, from the time of Noah, before we even had the law. So that's why he knew what adultery was, right? So, but he refused, verse 8, but he refused and said unto his master's wife, behold, my master would not what is with me in this house, and he have committed all the things unto my hand. There is none greater than this house than I. Neither have he kept, there is none greater in this house than I. Neither have he kept back anything from me but thee. He basically said, he done gave me everything he got except for you, but you are his, right? Because thou art his wife. How can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? So he even knew it was a sin, right? Sin against God. This is before we got the law. Verse 10, and it came to pass as she spake unto Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her to lie with her or to be with her. And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there within, because you know the way it worked back then. It was like you had servants. It was your house didn't just was you and your kids and your wife. You had like servants, you had just fluff out. So he had other people that Joseph was in charge of. But when he went into the house, nobody was there, right? Went into the house to do his business, and none of the men of the house were therein. And she caught him by his garments, saying, lie with me. And he left his garments in her hand and fled and got him out, right? So now he done ran away, right? Because this woman trying to, everything fine. I ain't looking at the screen. I see your message screen. Okay. Verse 12. Genesis 39 and 12, and she caught him by his garments, saying, lie with me. And he left his garments in her hand, fled, and got him out, right? So now he done dipped, ran away, right? Butt naked, seemed like. And it came to pass when she saw that he had fled, left his garments in her hand, and was fled forth, she called unto the men of her house. Now she calling all the other servants, and she finna make up a lie. And she spake to them, saying, see, he have brought in a Hebrew unto us to mock us. And he came unto me to lie with me, and I cried with a loud voice. Now she's claiming rape, right? She said, he tried to rape me. That's Hebrew, right? And it came to pass when he heard that I lifted, and it came to pass when he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried, he left his garments with me and fled and got him out. So now she's saying when she started crying out loud, that's when he ended up, you know what I'm saying, shaking, dipping, and whatever, right? And she laid upon his garments, and she laid up his garments by her until his Lord came home, right? Okay, there we go. Until his Lord came home, which is the Egyptian, right? Lord just means master, right? And she spake to him according to these words, saying, the Hebrew servant which thou hast brought unto us came unto me to mock me. And it came to pass, as I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garments with me and fled out. Now she's telling her husband that he lying to her husband, telling Joseph tried to rape her. And it came to pass when his master heard these words of his wife, she spake unto him, saying, after this manner did thy servant to me, that that his wrath was kindled, right? So now the Egyptian mad, and Joseph master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound, and he is there in prison, and he was there in prison. Now Joseph is in the Egyptian prison, right? Joseph is he went from his brothers not liking him to being sold into slavery. Then the one, because so you would think he having a worst worst life going right now, right? Got sold into slavery. Then his master's wife tried to sleep with him. He dipped off. His master, she done said he tried to rape her. He done threw him in jail, the master, because he mad, right? Verse 21, and Yahweh was with Joseph and shewed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keepers of the prison. And the keepers of the prison committed Joseph's hand to all the prisoners that they were in the prison. And whatsoever he did there, he was the doer of it. So he became like they call it a name when you locked up, but he got like special privileges, right? The keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand, because the Lord was with him, and that which he did, the Lord made him to prosper. Now, even the guards and the people that run a prison see that Joseph is favored, and he start running things within the jail, but he's still in jail, right? Chapter 40, verse 1. And it came to pass after these things that the butler of the king of Egypt, so now this is the Pharaoh's butler, and his baker had offended their lord, the king of Egypt. And keep in mind, the word Lord again just means master, right? But it came to pass after these things that the butler and the king's baker and the baker had offended the Lord, the king of Egypt. And Pharaoh was wroth against the two officers and against the chef, against the two of his officers, against the chef and of the butler, and against the chef and the bakers. And he put them in ward of the house of the captain of the guard into prison, and place where Joseph was bound. So now the butler and the baker are thrown into prison where Joseph at. And the captain of the guard charged Joseph with them, and he served them. And they continue the season in ward. Now, they spent some time there, right? And they dreamed the dream, both of them. So both the butler and the chef, they dreamed a dream. And they dreamed a dream, both of them, each man his dream in one night, each man according to the interpretation of the dream, the butler and the baker of the king of Egypt, which were bound in a prison. And Joseph came in to them in the morning and looked upon them, and behold, they were sad. So now Joseph making his rounds in the prison, right? And he came to them because he basically got to make sure everything cool with them. So he done came to them in the morning. They looking all sad, right? And he asked Pharaoh's officers that were with him in the ward of the Lord's house, saying, not the Lord's house like the Most High temple, just to make that clear, saying, wherefore ye look so sadly today, right? And they said unto him, we have dreamed a dream, and there was no interpretation of it. So they just dreamed a dream. They don't know what it means, right? And Joseph said unto them, do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me them, I pray you. And and the chief butler told his dream to Joseph, and said unto him, in my dream, behold, a vine was before me. In the vine were 3 branches, and it was also budded, and her blossom shot forth, and the clusters thereof brought forth ripe grapes. And Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup, and I gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand. And Joseph said to him, this is the interpretation of it. The 3 branches are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall the Pharaoh lift up thy head and restore thee to thy place. And thou shalt deliver Pharaoh's cup into his hand after the former manner when thou was his butler. So he told the butler, you're going to get restored. You're going to get your job back. You're going to get out this prison. That's what your dream means, right? But think on me with it. Hold on. But think on me when it shall be with thee, right? But basically saying, when this happened, think about me. But think on me when it shall be well with thee, and show kindness, I pray thee, unto me, and make mention of me unto the Pharaoh to bring me out of this house, right? So he said, when you get your job back, remember me. For indeed, I was stolen away of the land of the Hebrews, and there's also here also have I done nothing that I should be put into the dungeon. He said, nigga, I was stolen. I ain't even did nothing to be here. right? So he basically said, nigga, I should be sad. But basically he said, when something happened like that, when you get your job back, remember me, right? Verse 16. And when the chief baker saw the interpretation was good, he said unto Joseph, I also was I also was in my dream, and behold, I had 3 white baskets on my head. In the uppermost basket, there was all manner of bakements for Pharaoh, because it's the baker. And the birds did eat them out of the basket upon my head. And Joseph answered and said, this the interpretation thereof. The 3 baskets are 3 days. And yet within 3 days shall the Pharaoh lift thy head from off thee, and shall hang thee on a tree, and the bird shall eat thy flesh off of thee. So Pharaoh, he told him, your dream mean, Joseph said, you gonna get killed. So the dream of the butler was he was gonna get his job back, but the dream for the baker, he like, the Pharaoh gonna kill you. And you're gonna get hung on a tree. The bird shall eat thy flesh from off of thee. Verse 20. And it came to pass the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, right? And now you in the Bible, you only see 2 birthdays, right? Israelites don't celebrate birthdays. You won't see birthdays in this Bible. You see 1 birthday here, this the Pharaoh's birthday, which somebody got killed. And then you see Israelite, not an Israelite got killed. Israelite got killed on, it's a birthday in the New Testament, Herod. Herod is a kill. Well, Yahushua, who people call Christ, is the king of Israel. Well, we were in slavery when he was born. So it was a white man named Herod, which was the king of Israel at the time, right? So on his daughter's birthday, this white man that was the king of the Jews, which basically is a mockery, but on his daughter's birthday, she asked for John the Baptist's head, and they cut off John the Baptist's head on her birthday, right? Yeah, so I just wanted to put that out there. But on this birthday, what verse am I at? 20, thank you. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you get I'm waiting on the Bible to come back up. The water. Chapter 40, verse 20. Pick back up at 20. And it came to pass the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast unto all his servants. Now Pharaoh done threw a party, and he lifted up his head to the chief butler and of his chief baker among his servants. And he restored the chef butler to his butlership again, and he gave the cup unto the Pharaoh's hand. But he hung the chef baker as Joseph had interpreted to him. Yet did not the chef butler remember Joseph, but forgot him. So now the interpretations of the dreams happened, and the chef was killed, and the butler got his job back, but the butler forgot about Joseph, right? Chapter 41, verse 1. And it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that the Pharaoh dreamed. So now 2 years later, right? He done forgot about Joseph. Now the Pharaoh having a dream. And it came to pass that at the end of 2 full years that the Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 well-favored kine and fat-fleshed, and they fed in the meadow. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them out of the river, ill-favored and lean flesh, and stood by the other kind upon the brink of the river. So now you got some fat animals, right? And then you got some skinny animals, some fat good animals. Then you got some bad lean animals, right? That's coming up bound. Verse 4. And the ill-favored and lean flesh kind did eat up the 7 well-favored and kind, fat kind. So Pharaoh awoke And he slept and dreamed a second time, and behold, 7 ears of corn came up from one stalk, rank and good. And behold, 7 thin ears and blasted with the east wind sprung up after them. And the 7 thin ears devoured the 7 rank and full ears, and Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream. And it came to pass that in the morning that his spirit was troubled, and he sent and called for all his musicians of Egypt, right? Called all his musicians of Egypt and all the wise men thereof. And Pharaoh told them his dream, but there was none that can interpret them unto Pharaoh. Then spake the chief butler unto Pharaoh, saying, I do remember my faults this day. Right? So now the butler remembering. So he called all these musicians and all these people that know the black magic. And he said, hey, what this mean? Ain't nobody couldn't tell him. Then now the butler remembered, I know somebody, right? Then the chief butler said unto, verse 9. Then spake the chief butler unto Pharaoh, saying, I do remember my thoughts this day. And Pharaoh was wroth with his servant and put me in the ward of the captains of the guard of the house, both me and the chief baker. And we dreamed a dream one night, I and he, and we dreamed each man according to the interpretation of his dream. And there was with us a young man, a Hebrew, a servant of the captains of the guards, right? And we told him, and he interpreted to us our dreams, to each man according to his dreams he did interpret. And it came to pass, as he interpreted it to us, it was so it was. Me he restored unto my office, and him he hung. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon. Now they ran and went to go get him out the dungeon 2 full years later. And he shaved himself, because that's a custom of the Egyptians. Every Egyptian movement, you see them clean shaven, head shaven. They had a thing about like that or whatever. So he had to follow their rules. But make a long story short, verse 13. The Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon. And he shaved himself and changed his raiment and came unto Pharaoh. And that's going to be important a little bit later when his brothers them see him again. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there was none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of thee that thou canst understand a dream to interpret it. So Pharaoh said, I heard you interpret dreams. And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, it is not in me. God shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace, right? So he's saying, he gave all praise to the Most High. He said, I don't interpret nothing. He said, the Most High give me the interpretation. So the interpretation comes from God, and I'm going to give it to you from God, right? Verse 7. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, in my dream, behold, I stood up on the bank of the river, and behold, there came out of the river 7 kinds, fat-fleshed and well-favored, and they fed in the meadow, right? And behold, 7 other kinds came up after them, poor and very ill-favored and lean flesh, right? Looking homeless, ain't ate, right? Like a stray dog. Such as I've never saw in all the land of Egypt for badness. And the lean and the ill-favored kind did eat up the 7 fat kind. And when they had eaten them up, it could not be known that they had eaten them, but they were still ill-favored as at the beginning. So I wait, right? So he said they ate them, but they were still thin and you couldn't tell. So I woke up, right? And I saw in my dream, verse 22, and I saw in my dream, and behold, 7 ears came up from in one stalk full and good. And behold, 7 ears withered, thin, and blasted with the east wind sprung up after them. The thin ears devoured the 7 good ears. And I told this to my musicians. I told this to them, but there was none that could declare it to me. And Joseph said unto Pharaoh, the dream of the Pharaoh is one. So he told him both of the dreams are the same thing. God have shewed Pharaoh what he is about to do, right? The 7 good kind are 7 years, and the 7 ears are 7 years. The dream is one. The 7 thin and the ill-favored kind that came after them are 7 years. And the 7 empty ears blasted with the east wind shall be 7 years of famine. This is the thing which I have spoken unto this is the thing which I have spoken unto Pharaoh. What God is about to do, he shewed unto Pharaoh. So basically gave Pharaoh a dream, a prophecy, and then he had Joseph interpreted. Behold, there came 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt. And then shall arise after them 7 years of famine, and all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Egypt, and the famine shall consume the land. And the plenty shall not be known in the land by reason of the famine following, for it shall be very grievous. And for that the dream was doubled unto Pharaoh twice. It is because the thing is established by God, and God will shortly bring it to pass. Now, therefore, let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, and take up a 5th part of the land of Egypt in the 7 plenteous years. So he said, what you need to do, you need to go grab somebody that's trustworthy. And you, out of all the land of Egypt, y'all need to take a 5th of all that y'all harvest and save it. in the 7 plenteous years, right? So when the other 7 years come of famine, y'all have some. Verse 35, and let them gather all the food of those good years that come, and lay up corn under the hand of Pharaoh, and let him keep the food in the cities, and that food shall be for store to the land against the 7 years of famine which shall be in the land of Egypt, and that the land perish not through the famine. And the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh and in the eyes of all his servants. And Pharaoh said to his servants, can we find such one that is a man in whom the Spirit of God is? So they saying, what man is we finna put over this, right? What man is we finna put over this task, right? That's trustworthy, that God is with. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, for as much as God hath shewed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. Now we done went from his brother, them, right, hating him, thinking about killing him. Then they sold him into slavery, right? But the Most High was with him. So then he ended up in a Pharaoh's guard's house, well favored by the Most High, get put over everything. Woman tried to cry rape after she tried to force him to commit adultery. He dipped. She cried rape. He get thrown into jail. But through the interpretations of the dream, and since he favored by the Most High, he was favored in the jail to not be. He was able to move freely. He wasn't like in chains and shackles or whatever. But now he's well favored in Egypt again, right? Now he's over. We finna read it. How much well he was over in Egypt. Verse 40, thou shalt be over my house, and according to thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the house, only the throne will be greater than thou. So in the land of Egypt, Joseph was the second in command. There was nobody over him except the Pharaoh, which is the throne, right? Verse 41, and Pharaoh said unto Joseph, see, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand and put it up on Joseph's hand, and arrayed him with vestures of fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck. And he made him to ride in the second chariot which he had. So like the president how the president moved, the president might be the first one. Joseph was in the second one, right? And made him to ride up on the second chariot which he had. And they cried before him, bowed the knee, and he made him ruler over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh said unto John, this is the first Israelite in Egypt, but through this is how all the rest of the Israelites gonna end up in Egypt, right? And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, verse 44, and Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I am Pharaoh, and without thee shall no man lift up his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt. So he said, you call the shots. I'm the Pharaoh, but you call the shots. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zeph, Anav, whatever. And he gave to him a wife of Anias, a daughter of Potsi, the priest of And Joseph went out over all the land of Egypt. And Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before the Pharaoh king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went throughout all the land of Egypt. And the 7 plenteous years of the earth brought forth handfuls, and he gathered up all the food of the 7 years which were in the land of Egypt, and laid up the food in the cities, and the food of the fields which was round about every city, and he laid up in some. And Joseph gathered corn as the sand of the sea, very much until he had left numbering, for it was without number. So he started counting it, but he gathered so much he couldn't count no more, right? And Joseph was born 2 sons before the years of famine came. So he had 2 kids by the heathen Egyptian woman, right? So, and Joseph were born 2 sons before the years of the famine, which Asaniah, daughter of Pelophorath, priest of On, bare unto him. And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, right? For God said, he hath made me forget all my toils and all my father's house, right? So he named his first son Manasseh because he said his love for his son got him over a bunch of stuff that happened to him when he was young, when his brother them saw. Verse 52. And the name of the second son he called Ephraim, right? For God hath caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. Verse 53, and the 7 years of plentiness that was in the land of Egypt were ended, and the 7 years of Dorith began to come, according to as Joseph had said, and the Dorith was all in all the lands. So it wasn't just in Egypt, it was in all the lands. But in the land of Egypt was bread. So all the lands had a famine, but only Egypt had bread, right? And when and Joseph is over the land of Egypt, right? This is when Joseph's dream finna be fulfilled. When all the land of Egypt was famished, the people cried unto Pharaoh for bread. And Pharaoh said unto all the Egyptians, go to Joseph, for he said for what he say to you, do. And so they came to Pharaoh crying. He said, go to Joseph. Anything he tell you to do, you got to do. And the famine was over all the face of the earth. And Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold unto the Egyptians. And the famine waxed sore in the land of Egypt. And all the countries came to Egypt to Joseph to buy corn, because that the famine was sore on all the lands. Chapter 42, verse 1. Now, when Jacob saw that there was corn in Egypt, Jacob is Israel. This ain't talking about Joseph no more in Egypt. These people, Jacob and them, they still in the land of Assyria, right? Now Jacob saw that there was corn, but where Jacob and the 11 brothers are at, there's a famine. Now, when Jacob saw that there was corn in Egypt, Jacob said to his sons, why do you look one upon another? And he said, behold, I have heard that there is corn in Egypt. Get you down thither and buy for us from thence, that we may live and not die. So he said, what y'all look crazy for? He told all his sons, y'all go to Egypt and go buy some corn so we can live and don't die, right? And Joseph's 10 brethren went down to buy corn. Only 10 of them went, because I think one of them was too young. I think it's going to say, and Joseph's 10 brethren went down to buy corn from Egypt, but Benjamin, Joseph's brother, Jacob sent not with his brethren, for he said, lest peradventure mischief befalls them. And the sons of Israel came to, so his daddy, Joseph, thinking Joseph is dead, he think he only got 11 sons. And he sent the 10 sons because he said, if something happened to the 10 sons, I'm gonna need at least one son to keep my name going, right? And keep everything cool. But make a long story short, that's Benjamin. Benjamin didn't go, right? Verse 5. And the sons of Israel came to buy corn among those that came, but the famine was in the land of Canaan. And Joseph was the governor over the land. And it was sold to all the people. It was sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brethren came and bowed themselves down before him with their faces toward the earth. This is Joseph's dream that they hated him for. This Joseph's dream coming to fruition, coming to pass, right? And Joseph saw his brethren, and he knew them, but made himself strange to them, and spake roughly with them. And he said unto them, Whence come ye? Now, y'all got to keep in mind, and this proves that the Israelites are black. So now the Egyptian, Joseph is dressed like an Egyptian. His brother don't even recognize him. So the 10 brothers, even though they sold him and this is his brother, they don't recognize Joseph. He dressed like an Egyptian. He looked like an Egyptian because the Egyptian's black and the Israelites are black. So they thinking this is just a regular Egyptian, but this is his brother, but he ain't let them know, right? Verse 7 again, and Joseph saw his brethren, and he knew them, but it made himself strange unto them, and he spake to them roughly unto them, and said unto them, Whence come ye? He said, where y'all coming from? And they said, from the land of Canaan to buy food. And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew not him. And Joseph remembered the dreams which he dreamed of them, and said unto them, Are ye spies to see the nakedness of the land? Ye come. So now he know they sold him, so he mad. So he talking to him crazy, right? He said, y'all some spies, y'all came here to see what we got, right? Verse 10. And they said unto him, Nay, my Lord. Lord just means master again, but when you see the Lord in all capitals, when you look up the word, actually, let me. Well, I do. That's a sidebar. I'll do that later. Verse 9. And Joseph remembered the dream which he had dreamed of the dreams, and he saw them. He said, okay, verse 10. And he said to them, Nay, my Lord, but to buy food or thy servants come. We are all one man's sons. We are true men. Thy servants are no spies. So this is what the 10 brothers telling Joseph. And he said unto them, Nay, but to see the nakedness of the land ye come. So he treating them like they coming to doing some, right? Verse 13. And they said, Thy servants are 12 brethren, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. Behold, the youngest is this day is with our fathers, and one is not. And Joseph said unto them, That is it that I spake unto you, saying, Ye are spies. Hereby ye shall be proved. Right? So Joseph said, I got one way to prove y'all ain't no spies, but he's still messing with him. He mad because, right? By the life of Pharaoh, ye shall not go forth hence, except your youngest brother come hither. He said, look, since I got a younger brother, that's how y'all gonna let me know y'all ain't no spies. Y'all need to go get y'all younger brother. Send one of you and let him fetch your brother. But he really wanted to see his other brother, because I don't think I think the scripture's gonna prove it, but I think Benjamin is the younger brother. He had not seen Benjamin, right? So that's why he see his other brothers, but they telling him he got another brother, right? He ain't seen him yet. But verse 16, he said, this is how you can prove it. He said, send one of you and let him fetch your brother, and ye shall be kept in prison, that your words may be proved, whether there be any truth in you, or else by the life of Pharaoh surely ye are spies. And he put them all together in a ward 3 days. So he threw them in jail for 3 days, all of them. And Joseph said to them the third day, Do this and live, for I fear God. And if ye be true men, let one of your brethren be bound in the house of the prison. Go ye and carry corn for the famine for your houses. But bring your youngest brother unto me, so shall your words be verified, and ye shall not die. And they did so. And they said one to another, we are verily guilty concerning our brother, in that we saw the anguish for we saw the anguish in his soul, and he besought us, and we would not hear. Therefore, this is the distress come upon us. So now the brothers in jail, and they start thinking about them selling Joseph, right? And they saying like, yeah, we ain't do nothing right now to get thrown in jail, but we sold our brothers, and that's why this happening to our brother. That's why this happening to us, right? So they think this payback from which it is, right? 22. And Reuben answered them, saying, I need to read out one thing. What is fine? And Reuben answered them, saying, spake I not unto you, saying, do not sin against the child, and ye would not hear. Therefore, behold, also his blood is required. Also, his blood is required. So Reuben, like, I told you I don't do nothing, right? And they knew not that Joseph understood them. So they speaking in Hebrew, but and Joseph speaks, you know what I'm saying? He is speaking in Egyptian. They didn't think Joseph understood him, but Joseph, since he's their brother, he can understand them, right? And they knew not that Joseph understood them, for he spake to them by an interpreter. So he had somebody interpreting his Egyptian to them, speaking to them in Hebrew. So they thinking that they speak two different languages, but Joseph, he know what they're saying. And he turned himself about from them and wept. So now his brother in jail, and they talking about how they sold him, right? And they talking about that's why, and they arguing about it, and he can hear them, and he turned around and started crying, right? and he turned himself about from them and wept, and returned to them again and communed with them, and took them Simeon and bound him before their eyes. So he talking to because he's his brother. He kind of catching up with him. Then Joseph commanded to fill their sacks with corn and to restore every man's money unto his sacks, right? And to give them provisions for their way. And thus he did unto them. So after he got through crying and talking with them, he filled all their sacks up with corn, then gave them their money back. So they didn't even buy the corn. That he gave them the money back, filled all their sacks up with corn, then gave them some extra money to get back home. And they laid their asses up with the corn and departed thence. So they put the corn on their camels and donkeys and stuff, and they dipped, right? As one of them opened his sack to give his ass provided to give his ass provenders in the end, he espied his money sack, for behold, it was in a sack, it was in his sack's mouth. And he said unto his brethren, my money is restored, and lo, it is even in my sack. And their heart failed them, right? So now their hearts drop, right? Because now they feel like they've been set up. They like, oh, he gave us our money back. Now they think they finna run up on us, and we gonna look like we stole, right? So and he said unto verse 28, and he said unto his brethren, my money is restored, and lo, it is even in my sack. And their hearts failed them, and they were afraid, saying one to another, this is that God had done to us. So they thinking about their brother, how they sold their brother. They like, this payback, man. Verse 29, and they came unto Jacob's father into the land of Canaan. Now they went to Israel, Jacob, right? And told him all that befell them, saying, a man who is the Lord of the land spake roughly with us and took us for spies in that country. And he went and we said unto him, we are true men, and there are no spies. We be 12 brethren, sons of our father. One is not, and the youngest this day is with our father in the land of Canaan. And the man, the Lord of the country, said unto us, hereby shall I know that you are true men. Leave one of your brethren here with me, and take food for the famine of your households, and be gone. and bring your youngest brother unto me. Then shall I know that ye are no spies, but that ye are true men. And so will I deliver you, your brother, and ye shall traffic in the land. And it came to pass as they emptied their sacks, and behold, every man's bundle of money was in the sack. And when both they and their father saw the bundles of money, they were afraid. And Jacob their father said unto them, have ye be, who says, me have ye bereaved of my children. Joseph is not, and Simeon is not, and ye will take Benjamin away, and all these things against me. So Joseph, Israel, the man Israel, he just said, look, I done lost Joseph already. Simeon, because Simeon is the brother they left. Joseph, looking at it from Jacob's eyes, he's like, Joseph dead. Now y'all come back. Simeon ain't with y'all. And y'all telling me I got to give y'all Benjamin and y'all got to leave again? Right? So that's how Jacob looking at it. One more time, verse 36. And Jacob, their father, said unto them, me have ye bereaved of my children. Joseph is not, and Simeon is not. And ye will take Benjamin away? All of these things are against me. And Reuben spake to his father, saying, slay my two sons if I bring him not to thee. So Benjamin was like, look, man, we don't bring Benjamin and Simeon back. You could kill my two sons, right? Slay my two sons if I bring him not to thee. Deliver him into my hands, and I will bring him again to thee. And he said, my son shall not go down with you, for his brother is dead, and he is left alone. If mischief befalls him by the way in which you will go, then shall you bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to the grave. So basically he's saying, man, if something happened to y'all, he said, I don't know how I'm gonna get over this, right? Chapter 43, verse 1. And the famine was sore in the land, and it came to pass that when they had eaten up the corn which was in the land, which they had brought out of the land of Egypt, their father said unto them, go again and buy us a little food, right? And Judah spake unto him, saying, the man did solemnly protest unto us, saying, ye shall not see my face except your brother be with you. If thou wilt send our brother with us, we will go down and buy the food. So now they gotta convince their dad to let Benjamin go. Because if Benjamin don't come with them, then they can't get Simeon, right? But if thou wilt not send him, we will not go down, right? So they told their daddy, if you don't give us Benjamin, we can't go buy no corn. For the man said unto us, ye shall not see my face except your brothers be with you. Verse 6, and Israel said, wherefore dealt ye so ill with me, as to tell the man whether ye had yet a brother? He said, why y'all even tell him y'all had another brother? Verse 7, and they said, the man asked us straightly for our state and of our kindred, saying, is your father yet alive? Have ye another brother? He said, but basically they saying a man asked us a straight up question, and he seemed like we just answered honestly. Have ye another brother? And we told him according to the tenure of the words. Could we certainly know that he would say, bring your brother down? They said, we were just asking it straight up. We didn't know he was going to say that. And Judah said unto Israel, his father, send the lad with me, and I will arise and go, that we may live and not die, both we and thou, and as our little ones. I will be surety for him, for my hand shall be required of him. If I bring him not to thee, he said, if I don't bring him back, you kill me, right? And if I bring him not unto thee and set him before thee, then let me bear the blame forever. Verse 10, for except we had lingered, surely we had returned the second time. He's saying basically it's already looking bad because we ain't came right back. right? For except we had lingered, surely now we have returned the second time. Verse 11. And the father Israel said unto them, if it must be now, so now do this. Take of the best fruits in the land in your vessels, and carry down the man a present, a little balm, a little honey, spices, myrrh, nuts, and almonds. So he said, take your brother and take some presents too, right? Verse 12, and take double money in your hand. He said, and take double money. And the money that was brought again into the mouth of your sacks, carried it again in your hands, peradventure that it was an oversight. He said, let's just act like we bringing double the money. So let's just act like a mistake happened, giving the money from last time and giving the money for this time, right? 1 second. 13, okay. 13. And take also your brother and arise and go again to the man. And God Almighty will give you mercy of the man, right? So that's powerful, right? Because they're not looking for the man to show mercy. He said the Most High gonna show you the mercy of that man, right? Because I sidebar, I think like that with judges, right? The judges against all of us, right? Their job is to put Black Hispanics in penitentiary system, but the Most High can have that judge show mercy on you. That judge ain't showing mercy, the Most High doing, right? But verse 14 again, and God Almighty gave you mercy before the man, that he may send away your other brother and Benjamin. If I be bereaved of my children, I am bereaved. And the men took the presents, and they took double the money in their hands and Benjamin, and rose up and went down into Egypt, and they stood before Joseph. And when Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said unto the ruler of the house, bring these men home and slay and make ready, for these men shall dine with me at noon. So he's finna have a feast with his brothers, all of his brothers, because now all 12 of them are there in Egypt. Verse 17, and the man did as Joseph bade, and the man besought the men into Joseph's house, brought the men into Joseph's house, and the men were afraid because they were brought into Joseph's house. Now, keep in mind, the 11 brothers do not know who Joseph is. And the men were afraid because they were brought into Joseph's house. And they said, because of the money that was returned in our sacks at the first time we are brought in, that he may seek occasion against us, and fall upon us and take us for bondmen and our asses. He said, now they thinking to themselves, oh man, this payback for that money that was in our sackcloth. You know what I'm saying? He finna get us, right? Verse 19. And they came nearer to the steward of Joseph's house, and they communed with him at the door of the house, and said, oh sir, we came indeed down the first time to buy food. And it came to pass when we came into the inn that we opened our sacks, and behold, every man's money was in the mouth of the sack, and our money was in full weight, and we have brought it again in our hand. And the other money we have brought down in our hands is to buy food. We cannot tell who put our money in our sacks. And he said, peace be unto you. He said, shalom, fear not. Your God and the God of your fathers have given you treasure in the sacks. I had your money, and he brought Solomon out unto them. Simeon, and he brought Simeon out unto them. So now it's all 12 brothers. And the man brought the men unto Joseph's house, and they gave him water, and they washed their feet, and gave their asses provender. And they made ready the present against Joseph came at noon. And they made ready the present against Joseph came at noon, for they had heard that they should eat bread there. And when Joseph came home, they brought him the presents which was in their hands. So instead of them stay, because last time they came, they was in jail. They stayed in the prison. This time they came, they staying in his house. And when Joseph came home, they brought him the presents which were in their hands into the house, and bowed themselves unto the earth. They go to his dream getting fulfilled again. And he said unto them of their welfare, he asked them, how are they? And they and said, is your father well? The old man of whom ye spake, is he yet alive? Now he want to see his daddy, right? And they answered, the servant our father is in good health. Hold on. Thy servant our father is in good health. And they bowed their heads and made oblations, right? And they lifted up their eyes up, and he lifted up his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son, and said, is this your younger brother, of whom ye spake unto me? And he said, God be gracious unto thee, my son. And Joseph made haste, for his bowels did yearn upon his brother, right? And he sought where to weep, and he entered into the chamber and he wept there, right? So his sons was playing with his younger brother. He started crying. And he washed his face and went out and refrained himself and said, set on bread. And they set on him for him by himself, and for them by themselves. For the Egyptians did, for the Egyptians which did eat with him by themselves, because the Egyptians might not eat bread with the Hebrews, for that it's an abomination unto the Egyptians. So the Egyptians don't eat with the Hebrews. And they set before him the firstborn according to the birthright, and the youngest according to the youth. And the men marveled one another. And he looked and sent them message, and he looked and sent messes into them before him. And Benjamin's mess was 5 times much of theirs, and they drank and were merry with him. I do not know what a mess is, y'all. All right, let's keep going. Verse 4, chapter 44, verse 1. And he commanded, this most likely gonna be the last chapter. I'm gonna wrap this up. We're gonna pick back up next Sabbath, the same story, but I'm gonna read the chapter 44. And he commanded the steward of the house, saying, fill the men's sacks with food, as much as they can carry, and put every man money in his sack's mouth, and put my cup, the silver cup, in the sack's mouth of the youngest, and his corn money. And he did according to the word of Joseph had spake. Now Joseph, he blessed them, right? And he gave them their money back again, right? And as soon as the morning was lit, the men were sent away, they and their asses. And when they were going out of the city and not yet far off, Joseph said unto the steward, up, follow after the men. And when thou doest overtake them, say unto them, wherefore have ye rewarded evil for good? Now that he finna set them up, because when they leave, there's no guarantee you're gonna see his father. He done gave them their brother back, then gave them the other brother back. Now Joseph thinking of a plan. He want to get his daddy here, right? Wherefore are you rewarded evil for good? Verse 5. Is not this it is which my Lord drinketh, and whereby indeed divideth? Have you done evil and so much doing? So that the silver cup that he gave to Benjamin, he gonna act like he stole it. And he overtook them, and he spake unto them these same words. And they said unto him, wherefore saith my Lord these words? God forbid that thy servant should do according to this thing, right? So the Egyptians, like, Joseph ain't say nothing like that. Come on. Behold, the money sack which we found in our sack's mouth, we brought again unto thee out of the land of Canaan. How then should we steal of thy Lord's house, silver and gold? Right? He said, we brought back the money from the first time. Why are we gonna steal? With whomever of the servants it be found, both let them die, and we also be the Lord's bondmen. And he said, now also let it be according to thy words. So apparently they don't even know the cup is in there. He with whom is found shall be my servant, and ye shall be blameless. Then they speedily took down every man his sack on the ground, and opened every man his sack. And he searched and began at the eldest and left at the youngest, and the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. They indeed rented their clothes and laid every man his asses and returned into the city. And Judah and his brethren came to Joseph's house, for they was for he was yet there. So he's still at his house. And they fell before him on the ground. And Joseph said unto them, what deed is it that you have done? Woot ye not that such a man as I can certainly divine? He said, what y'all done did, because y'all know I'm a smart man. And Judah said, what shall we say unto my Lord? What shall we speak? Or how shall we clear ourselves? God hath found out the iniquities of thy servants. Behold, we are my Lord's servants, both we and he also whom the cup is found. And he said, God forbid that I should do so. But the man in whom the cup was found, he shall be my servant. As for you, get you up in peace with peace unto your father. Then Judah came near unto him and said, O my Lord, let thy servant, I pray thee, speak a word in thy Lord's ear. So Judah like, man, let me talk to you for a second. And let not thy anger burn against thy servant, for thou art even as Pharaoh. He said, I know you're a powerful man, but let me talk to you real quick. And my Lord asked his servant, saying, have ye a father or a brother? And we said unto my Lord, we have a father, an old man, a child of his old age, a little one, and his brother is dead. And he alone is left with his mother, and his father loved him. And thou saidest unto the servant, bring him down unto me, that I may set my eyes upon him. So now Joseph is telling Judah to go get your dad, right? And thou, verse 22, and we said unto the Lord, the lad cannot leave his father, for if he should leave the father would die, right? So they saying, if we don't come back with Benjamin, this ain't gonna work. And thou saidest unto the servants, except your youngest brother come down with you, you shall see my face no more, right? And it came to pass when we came up to blah blah blah. And it came, verse 24, and it came to pass when we came up to thy servant, my father, we told him the words of my Lord. And our father said, go again and buy a little food. And we said, we cannot go down if our youngest brother be with us. Then will we go. Then will we go down. For we may not see the man's face, except our youngest brother be with us. And thy servant, thy father, said unto us, ye know that how my wife bare me 2 sons, and that one went out from me and said, surely he is torn into pieces, and I saw him not since. And if ye take also from me the mischief befalls him, ye shall bring down my gray hairs unto sorrow unto the grave. So Judah is explaining how he gotta bring Benjamin back. Now therefore, when I come to thy servant, my father, and the lad be not with us, and Benjamin be not with us, seeing that his life is bound up in the lad's life, it shall come to pass when he sees that the lad is not with us, that he will die. And thy servant shall bring down the gray hairs of the servant, our fathers, of the servant, our father, which sorrow to the grave. For thy servant came surety for the lad unto the father, saying, I will bring him not unto thee, then I shall bear the blame of my father forever. Right? So he's saying, I told him I was going to bring him back. Now, therefore, I pray thee, let thy servant abide instead of the lad, and bound to my Lord. So Judah, like, let Benjamin go back. I'll stay. Keep me, right? Until the father come back. Verse 33, now, therefore, I pray thee, let thy servant abide instead of the lad, abide unto the Lord, and let the lad go up with his brethren. For how shall I go up to my father, and the lad be not with me? Lest peradventure I see the evil that shall come upon my father. So he said, but as we started at what was that, 37? Yeah, 37. chapter 37, right? Almost read 10 chapters, right? But from that, in verse chapter 37, we sing that his dad loved him more. He had favor from his father, Joseph, right? His brother hated him for it. Then 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 they conspiring to sell him into slavery or whatever. And then all the comedy, well, after his father loved him, he started having these dreams of everybody bowing down to him. And that was the fulfillment of the dream, them bowing down to him, even though it was kind of crazy how it happened, the dream was fulfilled, right? And it goes on, but the whole reason I read this and the reason why I'm going into next week, and I'm showing how we got into our first slavery, right? You got Jacob, his 12 sons, right? Jacob's 12 sons. We are in the land of Canaan, but somehow through some mechanism, through divine nature, we got in the land of Egypt. And then when we get in the land of Egypt, that's when our first slavery kick off, right? So it's basically like a biblical timeline. And if these are the basics in Genesis, right? So if you can get this down, when certain stuff come up about the Bible, you already got a basic understanding of like milestone biblical events, because it's like the parting of the Red Sea, right? That's something that happens on a biblical timeline. And if you know what happened leading up to that, right, nobody would be able to confuse you about little things about the scriptures, right? So that's what basically I just want everybody to get a clear understanding of what was going on. And I'm finna wrap it up. I'm actually finna go to another Bible. Well, I'm finna contend another live. But before I wrap it up, right? Anybody got any questions? Take that as a no. Any questions, anybody?
No.
No. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Right. Yeah, so today wasn't about Esau, it wasn't about none of that. It was just about, getting an understanding of a biblical timeline about certain events that happen in the Bible. And it's about the inception of our nation, right? So a lot of people don't know how Israel came about. Well, through reading a few chapters, we understand how to, because a lot of people don't know about the dynamic between the 12 tribes. That's why when the kingdom split, you can understand that these tribes already, because each brother represents a tribe, these tribes and people already had like little minuscule problems with each other before, when the nation was getting accepted, when the nation was still being formed, right? But and then also through that story, you see that laws were being followed. Now the laws don't come until after Exodus, right? When we in the book of Exodus and we go into the wilderness, that's when Moses get the laws from the Most High. But you got people following laws in Genesis. Before the laws, that's where you get into the oral tradition, right? And that's what the lesson I was teaching today. I didn't want to freestyle because it's too messy, so I did that. Let's see here. I got one scripture before I close it out. I'm dealing with the Sabbath. I always like reading the scripture. Let me find it real quick. Yeah. Slovakia. Can you pull up Exodus 31 and 14? We celebrate the Sabbath every 7 days, a week. The word week actually means 7, right? So every 7 days we celebrate the Sabbath, right? This Exodus chapter 31, verse 14, it says, and ye shall keep the Sabbath therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that defileth shall be put to death. And that is what's going to happen. If you don't keep these Sabbaths, by the time the Most High come back, you will get put to death, right? For whosoever doeth any work therein that soul shall be cut off from among his people. Verse 15, 6 days may work be done, but the seventh is the Sabbath of rest, holy unto the Lord. Whosoever does any work in the Sabbath, he shall surely be put to death. Verse 16, therefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout all their generations, throughout their generations for a perpetual covenant. Perpetual means never ending, not ending, right? So even going to be Sabbaths in the kingdom of heaven. Okay, for it is a sign, my bad, it is a sign between the children of Israel, it is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days the Lord made the heaven and the earth, and on the seventh day he rested and he was refreshed, right? So we got to keep these Sabbaths, right? There ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it, right? We keep the Sabbath because it is a sign between Yahweh and us forever, right? And with that, I want to give all praise to Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai. It's the name of the Heavenly Father, in the name of the Savior, our King, people ignorantly call Jesus Christ, right? And with that, Shabbat Shalom.
What before you leave, what was that scripture at in the Bible?
The Exodus.
What was that about the Sabbath, the last thing you read?
That's Exodus chapter 31, verses 14. Exodus chapter 31, verses 14 through 17. 14 through 17. Shabbat Shalom, Monty. You got some questions?
No.
And I know I've been busy. Yeah, stop the recording. Can you stop the recording?